How's it going?
Good. It's just you and me today, Jesse. We're missing Marie.
Yeah, Marie's not here, but this is sort of a special episode. We're going to give a couple of quick company updates, and then we're going to share a panel that we were on about a month ago. We were on Shimmer, put on a whole conference back in August, and we did an ADHD founders panel. So it was all three of us, and that was like a ton of fun.
Yes.
So we're really excited that they allowed us to share that on the feed. So you'll be able to check that out right after some updates. But I know, Sharon, you've got a lot going on right now. So what is happening in the world of Shelpful?
Oh, man. Yeah, we launched our app, which was just the biggest thing that's happened this year for sure, but kind of in the history of the company, because this has been what we wanted for a long time. We've kind of coasted along on an MVP. We've kept optimizing our minimum viable product for a long time, right? And making it a little bit better. We finally decided, let's just start from scratch and really try to make it reliable and make something where this AI task manager that we've built can really be dependable and hold people to things, and where they feel more in control because they can see their list. And so I should probably say what we launched more specifically, but it's an AI task manager. It's available just on iPhone right now. We're going to work on Android next, but it was a whirlwind. We wanted to kind of do a big drop. So we were building this wait list for a couple months leading up to it, just to make sure people knew about it when it came out. Because it's easy to miss things on social media, especially if you have ADHD. Right. So I was really, really busy in the run up to it, just kind of putting my content creator hat on and just getting on social as much as I could and sharing the tips that I always share, but just with the tag of hey, make sure to comment if you want to try our app. And so many people did. It worked out really great. I grew my Instagram following by 50,000. I had 90,000 before the launch, and then now I have 150,000 on Instagram. Because I'm not just a creator, the follower metric is cool, but the great thing is people actually signed up for the app too. And so we had a big rush of people come in and try it. And it was about 14 days ago exactly from this recording, as Jesse and I are sitting here now. It was 14 days ago. We had a 14-day free trial. So now we're actually seeing payments come in.
Yeah, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, we're revenue is important. We like to do this. This is our passion, right, Jesse? But eventually there's some dollars have to come in.
You got to get that income. Yeah. Awesome.
Keep the roof over our head.
Do you have a Stripe notification set up so you're getting every one of those?
Yeah, well, it's because it's with Apple Pay. It's with Apple.
Oh, right.
We don't have it. We're not getting payments through Stripe. I know they now allow that. We can talk more about that. But we just started collecting Apple payments. So we do get an alert a Slack alert for everyone who signs up for the trial and everyone who
that's
pays.
fun.
So it's just very bing, 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 bing today, which is amazing.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for y'all.
I know.
That is rad. Have there been any big surprises in the launch?
No bad surprises. I think that any feedback we got, I think was feedback that we maybe knew would come, right? People asking for voice recognition and photos and feature requests, which I think feature requests are always a good sign. It's kind of it has something I need, but not everything I need, which is, as a startup founder, we're really first trying to make something you need and then building from there. So I think that's been great. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten some just really heartfelt customer notes. I think someone reached out to us and said, I've talked about in the podcast before how hard I worked on our onboarding. I wanted to feel like a conversation and not just another daunting thing to fill out and populate. And someone sent us a message saying that she cried during the onboarding, when she first was chatting with AI, because she hadn't felt that seen in a long time. Amazing. And I was in pieces. It just, what better thing to hear. And so yeah, if that's one, I'm taking those positive signals and holding on to them. And we've had mostly good reviews. Someone 3-starred us, but wrote a really long, detailed reason why. And it was basically features that he wanted that we don't have yet. So don't love that, but you can't control that. And everyone else has been 5 stars. So we're just just trying to talk to people and learn as much as we can.
That is amazing. That's so cool to hear that. It sounds like overall it's been a pretty great launch. No major
Yep.
hiccups, and overall making people
I
cry
know.
in the good way.
Yeah.
So you're doing it.
Yeah, not the top goal, but it sure helps. And the biggest demand has been for integration with the Shortcuts app, which is something I talk about a lot, because that's something I
Right.
personally love. And so that has been our top focus ever since hitting submit on our original version. We've done one update, just there were like a couple little bugs that we had to push an update for. So our third update is actually going to be really substantial. We're going to have like some good features available. So like that's my hope too, is that we can keep up the momentum and like have people grow with us as we add more features to it.
That is super cool. I'm trying to remember. So quick update for me, and then we can get to the talk.
Yes.
I don't remember if I've talked about it on here, but we do now have a few people using the iOS app for Wave Pal, which is great. And I got some feedback kind of out of the blue yesterday. Someone emailed and just said, like, essentially, hey, just a quick win for Wave Pal. This reminded me to reach out with a friend. We had a really great conversation. And then a couple weeks later, or like 3 weeks later, I got the notification to stay in contact. And I reached out again. And it's really sort of like revitalized this friendship. I think they said the first time they reached out, that person had that like, oh, I really needed you to reach out right now. Like this is the perfect time, that sort of a thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's so cool. It's like that's what we're trying to do. That is the exact situation we're hoping to help happen with Wave Pal. It's the sort of thing where I'm sure this person really care about their friend, and they talked about it in the email how like glad that they are that this kind of friendship is being revitalized, but because they have ADHD, they probably would never have remembered to reach out because it's just that out of sight, out of mind. I was actually checking out TikTok the other day, and I can't even remember what video I was watching, but I saw, you know how with TikTok it'll be like a suggested search that's like somewhat topically related to the video. The search was, do people with ADHD not miss people? And that really kind of, I think, cuts to the quick, because that kind of is what it is. Yeah. It's like I care about people, but I don't miss them because I don't realize that I'm missing them.
Until you,
like, I'm not
until you like see them or talk to them and you're like, I miss you so much.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's like something needs to spark that missing. Like, or I see something and like, oh, that's my friend, like Greg gave me that and I haven't talked to him forever. I should really reach out. But if I don't get that little thing that sparks that part of my brain to remember, I won't ever think about Greg again. Like, because that's just, my brain just doesn't recall those things. The same way that if I say like, oh, I should grab milk on the way home from work, I'm not going to remember that.
Not going to get the milk. Yeah. Until it's like, until your kid's like, can I have some more milk? And you're like,
exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been super fun having some early people actually using the iPhone app, which I definitely feels better than the web, just because having like notifications on your phone versus email notifications is just so much better for those reminders.
And is this beta access on test flight or is this?
Yeah, so it's in test flight. Test flight's really kind of interesting because you have to, I didn't know, I got like the invite code. So I sent it to test flight and I'd been testing it on my own phone. And then I got like the invite code to send to some of my beta testers or whatever. And then they email back and they're like, hey, it's not working, because apparently even for a test build, you have to submit it to Apple for approval. I didn't even think about it because it's like it'd been working fine on my phone. Anyway, so that took like a few days. But now the approvals are like basically lightning instantaneous fast with any new builds.
That's good. Yeah, we had the same thing. Yeah. You know, something we did that I liked and probably could have even gone further on was I wanted just like a lightweight way to get feedback, but also to kind of let users bounce off each other when we were doing our beta. So we actually made WhatsApp groups and included.
Oh, that's a really great idea.
And WhatsApp lets you do invite links. So we kind of just in the email basically that gave them access to the iPhone app. We divided it up. We don't want huge groups, so we kind of curated it. But we invited people in. We had groups of like 15 in each of the WhatsApp groups, and we have multiple groups. And it was great because they would ask questions. Someone would ask a question, and the other person would layer on like, oh, I was wondering a similar thing. And because as a founder, you're kind of trying to hear this hidden stuff beneath the feature requirements.
Sort of stuff that people may not tell you directly, but if they're all talking, it might come up.
And they kind of bounce off. And then it's a fast way for you to kind of even just get a read So I did a couple of polls feature like, hey, what do you think we should name this button? Like, what would make more sense to you? So it was kind of a good way to
Right.
just get some quick, like pretty instant feedback. Because, again, ADHD is our audience. So email is where anything goes to die for me. So it's like a hard way to
Right,
get
right.
feedback, I think.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. I think I may look into that because most people are on WhatsApp these days. And
Yes.
so that feels like a really great place to do something like that. I might do that later today. I might send that out.
I have a couple WhatsApp groups with you. So I think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
matters a lot
exactly.
that you're on it too already.
Right. I'm already there.
Right.
So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I love that.
Well, cool.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we
No,
jump over to the thing?
what a quick and efficient recording session. And this was a really fun panel. Shimmer I think it was called the ADHD Growth Summit. So if you think our panel sounded cool, they had a lot of really good speakers. So Google that, go to their site. I think it's shimmer.care is their URL. And you could probably you could definitely find access to all the talks. This one, they very kindly shared us the recording of ours so that we could pass it on to you. So please enjoy. And we'll talk at much more length next time.
And Marie will be back with us next time as well.
She's on the panel though,
Miss
so you're
Marie.
not totally
But
without
she's on the
Marie.
panel, so you'll get your dose of Marie as well.
Thank goodness.
Welcome to the last session of day 3 of the ADHD Growth Summit. It's wild. We still have 7 more days of this, which I'm so excited about. If we haven't met yet, I'm Chris. I'm one of the co-founders of Shimmer. And if this is your first time with us or you're just learning about Shimmer, we are a all-in-one platform to manage and grow with ADHD. And so we offer things like one-on-one coaching, which a lot of you guys are members, and then this new community, which we're really excited about, and then a bunch of resources. So if you haven't yet, please do browse through the app. You can do it on your web or your mobile. There's tons of really cool resources that we've worked really hard on putting out. And also all of these events will be posted in there as well. So if you have any questions, you can ask the various helpers who are in the chat and they will share more. But with that, let's dive in and we'll welcome our speakers. So I can never do justice in introducing them. So first, I will just say I know all of them personally. We've spent a lot of time at ADHD conferences and I've watched them all build their companies, which are really cool in that they're all for ADHDers as well. So we'll just say that they will probably be very humble in that all of them are also creators on top of that. They make really cool content. They have really cool companies that all help ADHDers in different ways. So we're really lucky to have them here today to share a little bit about their story and then strategies that work for them and challenges, and we'll kind of go through all of that. But I will let them introduce themselves. So let's just go from left to right. Jesse, you can go first.
I am Jesse J. Anderson. If you know me, you probably know me from my social media content, ADHD Jesse, where I make silly jokes about having ADHD. I also have a newsletter called Extra Focus, where I write about ADHD almost every week, except for some weeks where it gets a little bit crazy with all of the various business things I'm doing, like YouTube channel. I do ADHD courses, and I'm also building an app called Wave Pal, which is kind of one of my main focuses right now, which is an app for helping you remember to stay in contact with your friends, because out of sight, out of mind, I forget my friends exist. And then I feel really bad when I remember, like, I haven't reached out to them in a year. And so that's what Wave Pal is about, which is at wavepal.app.
Thanks, Jesse. I'm Sharon.
Well,
Don't interrupt me yet, Jesse. I'm Sharon. I am a founder of Shelpful, and my background's in startups. Since I was in my early 20s, worked in startups in Silicon Valley. I worked at Sam Altman's first startup called Looped, location sharing. If you guys remember the Foursquare wave, if anyone's old enough for that, I was right in the middle of it and have been working at startups forever. Never dreamt of starting my own because I loved working at them so much until a problem finally almost broke me. But I felt like I was taking care of everyone else after having my second kid during COVID, having a 3-month-old, and couldn't remember if I took a drink of water that day, hadn't stepped outside, and felt like that there weren't resources that were actually tailored to help me take care of me in the way that I needed. And so created this company, Shelpful, kind of on a midnight crazy streak, but it ended up being something people wanted. And it's like accountability service. It keeps you on top of your stuff and helps you stay on your own list. And we have an app coming out very soon. So that's kind of what I've been working on, but we just right in the thick of company building for me right now.
Sweet. Thank you. Marie.
Hey everyone, I'm Marie. I'm working on Llama Life. It's an app to help people with ADHD, with tasks and routines. I'm a solo founder. I have a background sort of more in branding and marketing, but during COVID, I taught myself how to code and I built the first version of Llama Life during that time. And it's kind of just grown very kind of serendipitously
Yeah,
since
you got
then.
it. I love that. And I also forgot to mention that particularly why, amongst a million other reasons why we chose these three to do this panel together, they also have a podcast together called ADHD Founders. So please check that out as well. And they're on Instagram as well if you want to watch the clips. And they cover a lot of what essentially longer versions of what we're going to go through in today's panel. So really lucky to have them answer the questions, but also to have their chemistry together. So let's pop it over to the first question. So the way this will work is we'll get through as many questions as we can, but also don't feel rushed. Some of these are very story based. So I know we all feel like we are taking up too much space a lot of the time. This is your space to take up. So just use your judgment on which one you would like to go longer on. So let's start off. Let's go backwards. Let's go with Marie first. What inspired you to start your business and how has ADHD played a role in that journey?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, Llama Life was a bit serendipitous. So during COVID, everybody was learning a new skill. Like this is when COVID first started, I think back in 2020. And I'm not really into like cooking or DIY or gardening or anything like that. So I've always wanted to teach myself how to code. And so I thought that would be a great time to do it. And I started watching all these YouTube videos and learning through that. But I kind of got to a point where I was learning a lot of theory and I thought I better put it into practice and actually make something and see, if I'd actually learn something. So I wanted to build something that helped myself. And I, like many ADHDers, have tried pretty much every app in the App Store and like hundreds and hundreds of apps. And I couldn't quite find something that like exactly worked how I wanted it to. And so I thought I'd try and build something. So that was the very first version of Llama Life that I built. And I put it on Twitter and I just thought it would be a way to show, what I'm building, keep myself accountable. But when I put the first version on Twitter, immediately people started saying like, "Oh my God, what is this? Like, I really want this. How can I get this?" And I was like, "Oh, no, no, it's just like this little project I'm building for myself." But more and more people kept saying that they wanted it. So I just started building it more and I put it, out publicly so other people could use it. And it kind of grew from there. But I guess what sort of inspired me to keep it going is just the feedback that I was getting from people and just seeing how it was helping other ADHDers. Like that is the most rewarding thing for me. And every day when I get emails about that, like it just keeps me going. So I would say it inspires me, but also just has kept me going to keep improving it and building it and sort of expanding it on different platforms.
I love that, and I resonate with it so much, and there actually is I'm gonna ask a quick follow-up question because in the chat, someone says, "I put it on Twitter. Did you already have a lot of followers?"
Oh yeah, that's a good question. No, I didn't. I put it on Twitter for an accountability thing, and I probably had, I would say a couple of hundred followers. And we all know on social media sometimes you have followers, but they're kind of just random people. So I probably had like 50 people that I really knew. So I didn't have an audience at all. And I built an audience because I kept putting stuff on there and sharing the journey. It's called building in public. It's kind of a thing where you share stuff that you're like you share what you're doing, you share your progress, and you also share your learnings. And I was doing that very actively, like every single day. And people started following along. I don't know if every single person was like into the product, but they were interested in my journey and how I was progressing from I think also from a business perspective. Like, can you actually make it? Can you actually turn this kind of hobby? It was really like a hobby at the beginning and make something. So
Yeah.
it grew from there. And I think now I've got maybe 17,000 followers on Twitter, but I've actually stopped posting on Twitter maybe a year ago or a couple of years ago. Uh, but I kind of grew it to that amount, maybe from a couple hundred to 17,000.
Yeah, no, and it definitely shows that it striked a chord if you had a few hundred followers. And I think it's encouraging for
And
the folks in the audience too who are asking this question, because it's obviously easier if you already have an audience.
yeah, and I guess the other thing about it is people who are following the journey, they also share it and they repost it. So it was in effect kind of marketing as well. It was a way to help do word of mouth and grow the business that way.
Definitely.
I'm going to jump in really quick just to say, for people interested in that, the whole like building a public thing, there's a great book called Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. Really easy read, very ADHD friendly. So if you're at all interested in doing that, I highly recommend that book.
Okay, please drop that in the chat because I don't think I spelled anything right. Okay, now I'll pop it over.
I think you nailed it. You nailed it, actually. The L isn't capitalized, but other than that, you got it.
Thanks. That was the part I wasn't sure about.
Yeah.
She's so quick.
Trina and Alex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Sharon, over to
They
you.
must have Jesse's Goodreads pulled up for all his intelligent references. Jesse also, he also wrote a book too. I'm sure we got linked to that. I didn't plan on starting a business. Like I said, I had worked at Y Combinator for a couple of years. And then I went to a couple more startups, and I enjoyed building something from small, building something from nothing. And I knew how to do scrappy stuff. I knew how to do things with low resources. So I think I was well equipped to start something. It was never a dream of mine. When I really did hit what I felt was a rock bottom of just feeling like I just sucked at life to the nth degree. And why did everyone think I was good at work and things when they didn't secretly know that I actually sucked at everything? That was kind of that point where I was like, I need something, and maybe other people need this. And so I built it overnight, showed it to a friend. I mean, overnight isn't exaggerating. I genuinely built the first version overnight. I'm not an engineer. I built it with scrappy stuff. I'm not going to tell you all the things because this is a short panel, but I can. Built a version to get out there, showed it to a friend. She basically pushed me off the cliff and I pulled her with me, made her my co-founder, and we started posting on Facebook groups. Facebook groups weren't in. Facebook groups we just barged our way into. In one Facebook group, it kind of hit, and people were like asking a lot of questions and had some contentions with it. A bunch of people signed up, and we had to flip to a wait list. We like weren't prepared for customers because it wasn't a built out product. It was just a website and like tape and glue. I think the biggest part about ADHD playing a role here was I was not diagnosed with ADHD at the time. I had been told by multiple doctors in my life that I didn't have ADHD, even though my brother did. And they told me I was too successful. That's not my ego. Those are their words. I got too many promotions. I got good grades to have ADHD. And then when people signed up that first week, they all said they needed it because they had ADHD. So like the exact problem that I felt I was alone in, that I thought was a me problem, wasn't. And that was, I mean, my introduction to, okay, I obviously have ADHD. Screw all those doctors that said I didn't. And now I found a community that not only is like me, so I feel less alone, but actually needs the thing I'm building. So it lit a fire under me like you wouldn't believe. And I then obviously got my big girl advocate pants on and went and got a diagnosis. But I also built my company in parallel.
I love that. So far, the theme is have a problem yourself, then thing. I'm gonna guess that Jesse's will sound similar. Let's go, Jesse.
Yeah, so I have a sort of a weird business because I have like different pieces. Kind of started as the creator thing with just started writing about ADHD online, and then ended up growing a following from that. And then which led to Sharon. Thanks for pointing out that. Yeah, I wrote a book called Extra Focus: Quick Start Guide to Adult ADHD. And then I have a lot of stuff kind of going on in that world, like helping people with ADHD. Oh yeah, you got it right there. Awesome. So there's kind of like that wing of my business, which was like I learned about it because I got diagnosed 10 years ago, and then found out like, oh, there's a lot of other people that had the same misconceptions or believed all these myths about ADHD that I used to think when I didn't know more about it and hadn't been diagnosed yet. And so there's kind of a lot going on there. And then this new thing that I'm building, Wave Pals, much more, I would say, in alignment with Marie and Sharon, where it's like, I know I struggle with this, trying to keep it up with my friends. And I really am building this because it's going to help me. And it has. One of the things that really sparked it was I have a sister and we have a pretty decent relationship, but she moved out of state several years ago. And then we kind of just only text each other on each other's birthdays. And that is really lame. But the problem is we both have ADHD. And so we never think of each other in the day-to-day because we're not seeing each other. And so I built Wave Pal as sort of that thing to remind me of like, hey, this is someone you want to keep in contact with. And I can add all the stuff like, oh, what is this person's kids' names? Or what was their birthday again? Or what's their anniversary? And like all this other, or what did we talk about last time? I remember we had a conversation, but I don't remember what it was. And so really these are just all the problems that I've had trying and wanting to be a really good friend and struggling to do so because of ADHD, which just sort of introduces some blockers in my life. And so, yeah, so that's why I've been kind of building this product, and ADHD has played a role by letting me see the problem that hopefully I'm able to solve.
The reason you're that friend.
Right.
Shelpful and Llama Life are out there in the wild. Is Wave Pal launched? When is it launched?
It's not. So their invite codes have been going out. So I've been doing, we do have users in there using it, and you can get on the wait list. And I've been doing a lot of the invite codes to get going. So there are people using it. It's not publicly available for sign up right now.
You can get on the list at the website that Trina shared.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right, Jesse?
We'll share all of these links. And also, Jesse, I am really hurt that you didn't give me a personal invite. But that's
Well, I'll send one right after this call. I'll get one your way.
Did you sign up for the wait list?
Yeah, are you on the want list? Are you there?
Send me the wait list.
I am personally offended that you didn't sign up for the want list.
If only she had Wave Pal to remind her that your launch schedule was
Exactly.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing, all of you. I resonate so much. I mean, you guys all know, I mean, in the audience, know Shimmer since you're here, but the quick version of mine, just to share that, it's literally the exact same thing as when I was diagnosed. My psychiatrist was like, here's some Adderall and come back when you want more. And not that I was against medication, but I was just surprised that there was no other information outside of that. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that there's stuff that I can do. And so that was kind of how I discovered coaching, and discovered that coaching was like $1 billion and super inaccessible. And I kind of discovered that over a long course of this long journey of a lot of steps. So that was why I created Shimmer, for the same reason. I just wanted a behavioral intervention. I wanted a coach. I wanted someone who to just help me figure out what was gonna happen next. And then slowly, similar to a lot of your stories, like step 1 became step 2, and step 2 became step 3, and then other people also wanted the same thing. So I think what I love about ADHDers building businesses, and a little bit biased, not that non-ADHDers don't, but I find that most ADHDers building businesses are really solving super tough problems that really only we understand. And when we explain it to people who don't have ADHD, they're kind of like, oh, that's just like this, or that's just like that. So it really,
I think also it's almost like the reverse is true too, though, that I feel like I could only be doing this if it was a hard problem for me. Like
Yeah,
that would the only way would keep my interest.
Right.
You
no,
know?
totally. Yeah. Okay, Orion, next one. So a little bit of a 2-part question. Let's maybe stick to one strength and one thing that has been tough to manage, whether we want to call it weakness or growth area. And maybe we can go a little bit backwards and start with Jesse.
Yeah. So with the strength, I'll say I don't think hyperfocus is something you can hack, as people sometimes say or whatever. Like hyperfocus, sometimes I'll spend 8 hours on something, get to the end of it and be like, oh, that was a complete waste of time. That was not beneficial to me at all. But when you're excited about something and building something new and fresh and excited, and you're solving the problem, that hyperfocus can really kick in. And I'll just be coding for 8 hours working away, and suddenly I realize it's like 3 a.m. and I didn't have dinner, and all sorts of other problems outside may have have occurred. But what I was solving, I'm so in there and able to produce just like an amazing, a massive amount of work in a relatively short amount of time. And that's really fun. Like I get a lot of joy out of that when I dive into that like problem solving, especially for the coding, getting in there in the coding, and then everything's working and you're solving the problems. It's just very satisfying and very fun. And I feel like it's when I'm at my best. I feel like my strengths are all aligning to create something great. As far as the toughest to manage, I would say the flip side of that being when it's not a fun problem. When it's like a support issue and you can't reproduce the issue and you're just banging your head against the wall. With ADHD, when things are boring, you lose that motivation so quickly. You lose that excitement. It's so easy to just like, I'm just going to ignore this for the next, 6 to 12 months or years because I really don't want to deal with it, even though it's a problem that needs to get dealt with. So I would say that's one of the tough parts is there's stuff that needs to get done. And at first glance, it's often really boring. And you have to kind of navigate that.
Let me add to the question because I immediately was curious. So maybe when you guys go through this, when you say the toughest one, can you also say how you're managing it? Attempting to manage it if it's not fully managed?
Yeah. So, well, one thing I'll say, my co-founder does not have ADHD, and so sometimes I can just like, hey, buddy, can you take care of that problem? Not always, but sometimes that can be helpful for sure because he doesn't have the same. Like if it's boring, it's like he's maybe less excited to work on it, but it's not that same motivation issue. As far as like how when that's not the option, I try to do lots of different things to basically trick the monkey in my brain, like try to keep it busy with something else that is interesting. So a lot of times for me, that's music, like or a podcast I'm interested in, or something like that. So I do have something engaging going on at the time. And then like the boring thing that I have to do is just sort of like along for the ride. And so that's very, very quick, short summary.
Yeah, I
There's a
love
whole
it.
lot of strategies in my book specifically on this thing because getting motivated for things that are boring is such a problem with ADHD. But that's a little bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you have one more external and then one more internal solution. I think a lot of the times it's easy to put it all on ourselves. And I love that you have a co-founder, and I have a co-founder who's neurotypical, so I resonate with it a lot. And he's good at those things.
Yes.
Okay, what about you, Sharon?
Yeah, I mean, co-founders are a bit of a hack, I think, for startups in general and for an ADHD person, because there's just that built-in accountability and you're less alone and all that. Taxes are really hard for me. I don't think that was what it becomes not so much of a thing on the list, but like I'll deal with this when I finally get like the red envelope thing. That can happen. That happens to be an administrative part that somehow I'm still responsible for, and I probably need to solve that and give it to someone else. But strength wise, I think if I have a kind of clear aha of something that I think will help our customers, like instead of writing it down on a list or making a card on our Kanban board, I'll build it. It just feels like the steps in between and the discussion in between can feel so laborious, I think. And that's just the beauty of having your own company and being at a startup is a lot more points for getting it done than for like pitching it well. So I think that that's a lot of my strategy just in terms of getting people to try out Shelpful has been just opening myself up online and just sharing about my vulnerabilities and how much of a mess I am at life while not, trying my best to navigate it. And so I'll often just kind of jump on there also and just ask people what the problem is and try to diagnose this and get to it, which I think is a bit of a strength that maybe not everyone does. But yeah, the toughest to manage have been administrative. And I genuinely, I use my own product for this, like this Shelpful, like kind of the point of Shelpful is you have this AI accountability buddy who's like, doesn't let up on the things. And it'll be like, well, could you start by just holding the envelope in your hand? Like it kind of breaks the to-do list down in a way that isn't just like a list staring at you. So, I mean, obviously I'm our biggest customer, so that helps me a lot.
I love that. And to the posting online thing, I love that you guys all do that. Oddly, I know that today you just put all of your Easter stuff away. And
I know.
I look at your stories. Feels creepy.
I'm not.
I said it out loud. It's not creepy.
I know. I was felt like there was Easter candy in the background or eggs in the background of this video. So I was like, oh, I'll clean that up 6 months late. It's fine.
Awesome. Marie, strengths, toughest to manage, and how you're getting through that.
So my strengths is very, very similar to Jesse, the hyper-focus thing. So when you're developing a product and when you're coding specifically, you get the reward really quickly. So for me, like that created some kind of hyper-focus where I'd build a new feature or I'd design a new feature. And as soon as I'd code it, like I could see the result. And so I kind of got myself into this, like a dopamine loop where I was like, okay, I have an idea. I'm going to add this feature. I code it, I build it, and I can see like it's working. So that kind of, I guess, gave me a bit of like momentum. So hyper-focus for me turns into momentum. And when I feel like I'm moving forward, that helps me a lot. Like I just keep going and keep going. I think my toughest thing to manage has been like emotional dysregulation and RSD. So, for those who don't know, RSD stands for rejection sensitive dysphoria. It's basically being like ultra sensitive to feedback or criticism in a probably sort of disproportionate way. If you're building in public, you're going to get some of that because people are seeing it and most people are pretty nice about it, but there's occasionally people who are not. And then as your business grows and you get more customers, it's going to happen that you get people emailing you and giving you sort of criticisms or having issues with billing and things like that. So that's something that's been pretty tough for me to manage. How I've got through it. So right now I'm a solo. I'm working by myself, but at one point Llama Life had a small team. We used to be a team of 3, but now it's back to just me as a team of 1. When we did have a team of 3, I did actually have somebody helping me with the customer support angle, and that really helped to get through that side of things. That said, if you don't have somebody who's neurotypical or someone else who can help you with that, I think the best way to manage it is to kind of expose yourself to it more and more. And I do the customer support now, so I'm getting a lot better at it. And sometimes when I get on, I have to kind of do a deep breath and be like, okay, it's not personal. Just read what somebody's saying and push through it. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But I'll be honest, like it's still pretty hard for me. So that's definitely the toughest thing. And I still struggle with that like every day.
Yeah, definitely. No, thanks for sharing. And I put it in the chat, but if anyone's interested in RSD, I think it's such an important topic. Dr. Sharon Sleen just did one right prior to this. If you didn't get to that, it's going to be in the recordings as well. And yeah, I really resonate. I think all of you said some version of the strengths being related to like hyper focus and like problem solving when the problem is interesting, which I think you all did the step of at least making the problem something that is relevant to yourselves and similar to Shimmer as well. So I think it's also putting ourselves in a good position to be able to leverage our strengths and to be able to lean more on our strengths and less on things that are going to be hard for us. And I also am going to just resonate with everyone's toughest to manage parts as well. And then just looking for solutions both within yourself that you can do, but also to Jesse's point on kind of externalizing it, and whether it's a co-founder or whether it's putting on systems that are outside of you as well.
I just want to say on that real quick, somebody in the chat said something like neurotypical people are okay with doing it wrong. And I do think that is a thing. I think most people with ADHD are not satisfied when we know that something could be done better.
Perfectionist.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, there's that sort of spark of like, there's a better way to do this. This could be improved. This, or like office politics sort of stuff where like this process feels dumb and doesn't make sense. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
There's that just sort of like innate, we can improve this sort of, I don't know what you call that, but I feel like many people with ADHD have that, which is why so many of us become entrepreneurs, among some other reasons. But yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to like reel it in too. Actually, now that we're speaking, I think one of the
Yeah.
that's toughest for me to manage is like I already work a lot, and then sometimes it'll be 11 p.m. and I'll just see, I don't know, a social media post or like thing that like hasn't went out, and I was like, oh wait, these things are not aligned, and it has to be aligned, and it's not even my job to do whatever the thing is. It doesn't have to be just a social media post. Sorry, I'm not trying to blast Trina here. I just example, but just something in Figma or something on Notion, and I'll just start trying to make it look perfect, and then suddenly it'll be like 1 or 2 a.m. and then you take yourself away from what's actually important.
Yeah, or like on our podcast, almost every episode we have several new business ideas that we want to pursue because we think of problems, and for us, like we want to solve another problem. Like, yeah, give me that. I bet I could do something that's going to fix that, whatever the thing is that comes up every time.
Came up with a whole idea for the email RSD thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, not kidding. And I think people are asking about RSD too. And I think that as a founder, it's kind of this tough thing because it's not just like you're working at a regular business and have RSD. You aren't going to succeed unless you're actually getting feedback from your customers and talking to them. And so like you have to put yourself into the ringer and you have to put yourself there. And yes, sometimes people are emailing you like they're emailing their bank and like asking for a refund and being just all up in arms. But other times you have to kind of look at it hard and just try to understand, okay, they're upset. What about the product needs to like, how am I changing my product to make this better for them? And it's really hard. And I think just like deep breaths and stuff come into it, but also just like talking to others and processing it through other people too before responding, I think is helpful. Yeah, just that question came up too.
The other thing to note is that if you're building a product for other ADHDers, which often is the case because you're trying to solve your own problem, you also have to keep in mind like your customers have ADHD as well, and they might also have emotional dysregulation. So often when people kind of lash out at me, it's like they had a bad day. And when I reply that, they sometimes even say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know, like I just, I took it out on you," or whatever. So often when they find out there's a real person behind it, the tone completely flips.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, I mean, sometimes it's just human nature. Like you think you're talking to a chatbot or a robot. So you just kind of type in like, "Give me a refund," or whatever.
Right.
And then when someone replies, you go, then you just become a bit more human. And the other thing is just, yeah, like I said, keep in mind that they might also be neurodiverse and have had some challenges that day.
Yeah, definitely. Orion, okay, let's move to the next one. So, how do you balance the rush of new ideas, which you guys just mentioned that you can talk about on your podcast? Even me and my co-founder do this sometimes just for fun. But how do you balance that with stability and follow through? I think follow through is a huge, huge, huge thing for people with ADHD. Let's go with Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because you want to jump on all those things. One thing I've found is making it like giving the idea some tangible reality to it. So sometimes if I have an idea that just keeps coming up, I'll write it down on an index card and then put it somewhere because then it's like it exists. I don't have to keep thinking of it in my brain. It kind of like releases a little bit. And then if some time passes and I'm like thinking about that index card, that idea that I really want to do it, well, then maybe it's worth pursuing. But that's a thing for me. I feel like when it's just floating in my head, it takes up a lot more space.
Yeah.
And sometimes I write it down. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool, but I actually don't. Suddenly it becomes more obvious why that maybe isn't worth spending any time doing right now. And so that's for me, anytime I just try to get something out of my head and it becomes much more concrete and real, and I can see it with my whole brain because it's not swimming around within my brain.
Yeah, I love it. Like getting stuff onto paper, onto sticky notes. This goes for like all sorts of thoughts is so helpful. Let's go to Marie next this time.
Yeah, so like most of the ideas I have are ADHD related because I'm trying to still solve my own problems. So what I try and do, and it might not be possible all the time, but what I try and do is make that new idea part of my existing business. So for example, a few years ago, I wanted to build like a sound generator where you could create like different background noises to keep your brain entertained while you're trying to focus on the work that you have to do. So these were sounds like, wind, rain, kind of like a train sound, repetitive sort of being on the tracks, bird sounds. And it was basically like this sound mixer where you could create a combination. Like you could go, I want wind at this volume and I want rain at this volume, and it would play them together. And at one point I was like, oh my God, I could make this into an app or a business. And then I decided to kind of try and put it into Llama Life. And the way I did that was two ways. One was I added these soundscapes, like just directly in there. So you could create a task list in Llama Life and play these sounds in the background. And then the other way I incorporated it was I built like this standalone website. You can actually find it. I think it's still online. I have to check. Maybe the domain might have expired, but it should still be online. It's called Noise, like SHHH noise.com. It was like this little standalone site, but I made it like branded as, I think it does say Shush Noise, but at some point, like there's a little note at the bottom that says made by me. And like, if you like this website, you might also like Llama Life. And I put a link from that website to Llama Life. So it kind of becomes like lead generation. It's a different domain that people might be interested in, but my thought was like, if you like noise generators, you probably will like Llama Life. So I've kind of used it as a way, like a marketing tool.
You've done a good job doing like little toy websites like that where you have sort of a fun idea. Because I think you're about to mention it too, but you also have fidgetpage.com, which is just like a fidget spinner, which is just silly and fun, and you play around with it. And then after using it for a little bit, the little llama pops on the side and tells you about Llama Life. So you've done a good job of kind of doing these little toy projects and still connecting them to the core business, which I think is great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was just about
sure.
to mention Fidget Page because it's kind of a, I don't know, like it satisfies me too because like I wanted to build it, and if I didn't build it, it'd be in my head, like you were saying, Jesse. It's kind of there and it's bothering you and it's taking up mental space until you get it out. And even if you're not building the whole business, like you're kind of just building a little bit of it, and that satisfies your ADHD brain. And then maybe in like a week or a couple of weeks, you might be like, oh no, I don't actually want to do that anymore. That was just a little fun thing and I've done it and I feel satisfied. And at the same time, it's lead gen. So it kind of works all around.
Yeah, the other thing that makes me think of is I talk about the idea of like juggling chainsaws, where this is something that my wife is neurotypical and this does not make any sense to her. But sometimes if I have like several projects and I'm sort of lacking that motivation or that drive to sort of do them, I will add a new project, and that actually gives me energy, something I'm excited about again, and I can sort of use that for the stuff I haven't been excited about, sort of like that new thing will give me
Like,
energy that I can
yeah.
use on some of the stuff that I've lost. That yeah, there's something really kind of, which seems counterintuitive to be like, oh, I'm not doing any stuff, let me add more things to do. But something about it with my brain, it just like, I need that. When something is exciting, that's going to drive me forward, and I'm going to be able to get more than just that new thing done. But the problem is you don't add too many chainsaws. That's why the
100%.
metaphor is juggling chainsaws. Because if you're juggling 30 chainsaws, you're gonna be in for a bad time, and it's gonna end in burnout.
Or lost limbs.
Lost limbs, exactly.
The takeaway so far is if you're technical like Jesse and Marie, you can just build it. If you're me, you can just put it on a sticky note.
Or I mean, here, I guess as a separate example, I'm not a developer and I do something similar. Like I use NFC tags around my house to like make things happen, like boop, 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 to like automate my life. That's just me being a weirdo. And I was like, this is interesting. Let me see if I can connect it to our app. I did that myself, no help from any of our development team. And I was using it. I thought it was really cool. I started posting about it. People loved it. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people have loved these tips. So in a weekend, I made a course on it, and that's now a lead gen thing for our service. And because it's so popular, we're going to build it into our upcoming app. So I'm like finding a way to like take the energy, enjoy it because I'm enjoying it, and then maybe help a couple people on the way so I can feel good about helping those people, but also just get a proof of concept, right? Like, can this help one person? Like, is this something that's worth exploring at all? Because I think that you can do that. I mean, like, I love development. I wish I majored in software engineering instead of journalism. Can't change that now, but you can build prototypes without being able to code. I feel like in different ways with content or other things, or post-it notes even. Hey, take a picture of it, post it on Instagram.
This is kind of an offshoot of this question. Someone asked it in the chat, and maybe this is for a mix of, let's say, mostly Sharon, but also Jesse. Someone asked, where is it? Because this is related to like the stability, but I think it's also related to motivation. Someone said, as a woman, how do you keep your motivation for a business when you're also focused on your family and all the things that need to be done in that area as well? There always seems to be a more important thing to do, and something that would involve the business. So I called out Sharon specifically. I know you have kids, and I know Jesse.
2 kids, yeah.
Jesse also has kids.
I have 2 kids. Jesse has 3 kids.
Nice job. Yeah, you didn't even need to use a Wave Pal to know that.
No, I do talk to you pretty regularly.
Yes.
It's hard. I think being a person in the world is hard. Being a person with ADHD is hard. I mean, I think that for me, I've always worked outside the home. When I started my startup, when I had that idea, I already had childcare. So, I mean, I think that there's like some things, like if you don't have a setup where you have a village or any like resources for the parenting side, it's very hard to make time because you have an actual job that is taking care of children. The kid part can be difficult because it's unpredictable. Just like, anything could be unpredictable, like having grief or being sick. My kids also can get sick. Their schools have weird random days off, and that impacts my ability to work on my business. And I think that, and because my husband works at like a big company corporate job, my hours are very flexible. His are not, right? I have like very few scheduled calls per week, and he has a fully booked week. So it does fall to me a lot. I feel like the main thing there is just giving yourself grace. I think my diagnosis with ADHD helped me out a lot because I was able to just forgive myself quicker for these things. But you are gonna, and just like anyone in your life, like my 10-year-old the other day was like, all you care about is TikTok. To me, it's like I was making a piece of content and he like walked in. I was like, that's not true. And that being a parent is hard no matter how you slice it. I think being a parent and an entrepreneur is a pretty delightful thing because I feel like I'm showing my kids every day that I can do the thing I love as a job. And so I think like anytime I'm trying to tell him like stick with drums or don't give up on basketball yet, like I can point to my own life and show that I'm doing that. And so I think that even on hard days, I don't doubt that I'm doing the right thing for them.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll say it's definitely a struggle. I definitely have like the privilege or advantage or whatever. My wife doesn't work, and so she's able to do a lot of the stuff with the kids. For me, I know it can be like a tiny disruption can really ruin like 2 hours of time so easily. And so I do work at home, but we have sort of like a secluded office, which really helps a lot. So I can most of the time sort of stay focused. But the same sort of thing, like, yeah, kids get sick and there's like things going on and those like disruptions like happen. And there's just responsibilities and things that you have to do as a parent that can make things difficult. If we're in the midst of something like that, like a kid is sick and there's needs and stuff like that, what I usually try to do is working out some sort of like blocks of time, like rather than like jumping in and helping when needed and then coming out and then working and then jumping back and like kind of bouncing around or whatever. If like we're both at home, but there's a high need situation, I'll literally like my wife and I will talk about a shift. And so I'm like, okay, I need 3 hours to just like dive in and then I'll be fully available. Then I'll come back into the house and be fully available to do whatever. But if
And
I
how
don't
focused is that 3 hours, by the way, Jesse, right? Like that's probably
right,
most you
yeah.
get done in a week.
Right. Yeah, because then I've like, okay, I know I'm not going to be interrupted for 3 hours unless an emergency. Like I can lock in for this specific amount of time because otherwise I just know that I'm not going to be able to get anything done because there's so much, especially with anything like technical, there's so much of like building the scaffolding of what you're trying to wrap your brain around. And you can't really do that when there are those disruptions, which makes it really tough and difficult as a parent. But the flip side is that, yeah, like my kids, I do YouTube videos and my kids are like, that's the dream job. You're doing YouTube.
YouTuber.
That's what we all want to do. And so there is kind of that, which is cool, like showing the kids that, yeah, you can do something that you're passionate about as a job. And the flexibility is just like hard to overstate how great the flexibility is when you can just be like, let's take an extra day off or 2 days off this week and go do something big as a family or whatever it might be. So,
yeah. And privileges, just that like, I am not a single mom. That would be a lot harder. I think there's a lot of things about and I worked for years and saved at all my jobs. So I think that I have a lot of privileges going into this too.
Yeah, the privilege is such a huge thing you just can't ignore. Like the people saying like ADHD is a superpower. It's like, well, yeah, like ADHD kind of is a superpower for me because I have a wife that is at home full time and like all the other advantages that because of societal whatever. You just can't ignore that because yeah, a single mom that has ADHD is not going to be feeling like it's a superpower because all that she's going to be likely experiencing is the difficulties that come with ADHD. So anyway, not to go into that whole tangent, that's a whole probably different panel. But
yeah, no, totally. Thank you guys for sharing. So just in case we run out of time, I'm going to go to the last question, but if we have time afterwards, I have a little bit of a lightning round. Let's see where we get to. So let's say there are people in the audience, I can't remember the percentage, but like, I think 20 and 20 who are in like bucket 1 and bucket 2. So for those folks, let's say they're considering or the beginning of starting their business, what is the top piece of advice? And maybe let's start with Sharon this time.
Let's go with Marie because I talked a lot about my kids.
Okay, Marie. I was thinking that you probably thought about this most because of the Y Combinator.
I do.
Let's go with Marie. We're putting you on the spot.
No, that's good. One piece of advice would be make sure that you are super interested in the problem, like super interested, not just mildly interested, but obsessed would be happy to work on this problem for the rest of your life kind of thing. And keep in mind that the product that you make or the service or business that you build, it can change, but the underlying problem needs to be like something you want to work on. So for example, with me, like time management is a really big problem. Time blindness, time management, just being able to figure out where I am in the day and get stuff done, like that is a huge problem for me. So even if I didn't build Llama Life, I might be building another business that is related to that. So I might be solving the problem in a different way or with a different business or a different product. But for the rest of my life, like I am always going to be interested in this problem. I think there are two things that kill businesses. One is money and the other is motivation. As an ADHDer, you might be able to solve the money problem, right? Because you could be like, there's high consequences, high stakes if I don't have enough money. So I will solve that. But you might not be able to solve the motivation problem if you're not interested in the problem that you're solving. I've built businesses in the past before Llama Life, and every single time, the reason I stopped those businesses was not so much from a money perspective, but because I just wasn't interested enough in the problem. And woke up one day and I was like, you know what, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I don't want to do this. And as an ADHDer, sometimes when you don't want to do something, it just falls off a cliff. Like one day you just go, no, I'm not doing that anymore. And the whole thing just blows up. So yeah, that's the biggest piece of advice would be make sure that you are obsessed with a problem and you will work on it every day and you will want to work on it no matter what.
And mine builds on that very briefly is just start. Like you don't need a business license. You don't need to go look at the things. You don't need your friend to tell you it's a good idea. Just start. And by start, I mean, it could be a freaking Post-it. Like no joke. Like it could be a Post-it on on a bulletin board at your Pilates studio saying, hey, I have this service. I have this organization service. I'm going to do video body doubling. I saw someone put that on the chat. Who would like to join? It's going to be Friday. And I'm going to teach you how to organize your kitchen. You just started a business or you potentially could. That could potentially be your life's work. You don't need to make it so important in your head. Just start. If it sucks, it sucks. If no one likes it, then no one likes it. You might learn something or you might have another idea the next week, whatever. But do something toward just getting one person to look at it, one person to give you $1 or one person to just think it could help them. And that's all you need.
Yeah. And just building on that as well, like trying not to put too much pressure on yourself. So, just starting, like Sharon was saying, could be something small. And I was lucky with Llama Life in the sense that like I didn't have the pressure that I had with my previous businesses. Because my previous businesses, I was like, I got to make this into a business, I have to work on this, and it has to grow and do all this stuff. And Llama Life was a bit more like, I'm doing this as a project and I'm just trying to learn how to code. I'm just trying to learn how to do all this stuff. And it kind of just grew. So I didn't put the same pressure on myself as I did before. And that worked really well for me. So even though that was kind of a natural thing for me, I think if you can try and manufacture that in your own head, that it's a learning experience, even though you are trying to build a business. And every day that you're doing stuff, even if it doesn't grow the business, or maybe it's, quote unquote, the wrong thing, but you figure out it's the wrong thing later, it doesn't matter because you've learned that it was maybe not the right thing to do, or you learned that, you learned a new skill along the way. But yeah, if you look at it as a learning exercise, it's so much easier.
And I got called out in the comments. I broke a rule that Jesse, Marie, and I have, which is don't tell people to just do anything. Because it's serious. I know.
Remove the word just.
I know. I'll change. There's actually a saying that my co-founder and I say to each other, and it's kind of crass, but whatever. We say, burp it out, which means like involuntary, just open your mouth and let something come out. And like that could be the first thing. So maybe that's better than just start.
Okay, let's swap it to Jesse because we're short on time. Let's go. What's your piece of advice?
Yeah. Right on those. I often say like start messy, but keep going. And that's you just get out, because we often get caught up in like perfectionism, and then you build a little secret project by yourself for 3 years. And then by the time you release it, no one's ever seen it before. No one's ever tried it. And you don't realize any of those problems that could have happened if you had gotten out there much sooner. And so I think we've actually said it a few times on this call, but there's the idea of an MVP in kind of the software world, which is a minimum viable product, which is kind of what Sharon was saying with the Post-it note or whatever, the smallest amount of thing that's actually helpful for someone, and just like getting it in other people's hands so you can see if it is actually useful. a lot of the huge companies that you know today started with a really messy idea and then probably changed the idea and changed the idea until they iterated and kind of found their landing. Like YouTube started as like a dating video site and then obviously has become much more than that. Airbnb has, they pivoted like 20 times or something. They just continued to change their idea and evolve it until they landed on something that really connected with people and that they found that they were, good at and all of that. So it's really about starting and getting out there, starting messy, and then just keep going and iterating as needed.
Yeah, I love it. I would add, I think for me, it's kind of intertwined with everyone's, but I think really just falling in love with the process. I think a lot of the times we put a lot of pressure on ourselves for specific outcomes, making a certain amount of money or like making this content look like this. But really, it's about similar to what Marie mentioned. I think just loving the learning process, loving figuring out things, and I think it also comes back to picking something that you're actually passionate about, so that you will like each piece of the process as well. Okay, awesome. And so I think that's a great one to end on. And I know that there's been a lot of chatter in the chat about a bunch of things. So we will follow up. And if the people there can just message me.
It's been moving way too fast. I have no idea what's happening.
I didn't
Shout
want
out
to
to
say
the
something.
comments.
Yeah, I didn't want to say something without reading everything. But yes, so thank you so much for the three of you. We got some really incredible positive feedback in the chat already. And thank you for all of the energy of everyone who's in the chat and in the audience. I really couldn't be like this without you all. The energy has been great in the session, and it's clear that this is a really popular topic as well. So if you didn't know yet, tomorrow there actually is a ADHD-led business building success on your own terms that's ran by Ari Scott. You can find her on Instagram. It's the ADHD entrepreneur. So it's going to be very similar, but she's going to be getting very deep into like tactical elements of how to build a business with ADHD. So it'll be a great kind of dovetail with this session where we're learning about a bunch of different people's experiences. So don't miss out on that one. And then you can also check all of the rest of the week and next week's in the app as well. And we will also send out all of the links from Sharon, Marie, and Jesse for all of the various projects that they're working on, because it's hard to eat down to one each.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for having us. And yeah, shout out to the comment section. I love that it was a crazy comment, like just vibrant. And because it matched, I was able to feel like, do both like listen to ADHD, right?
Yeah.
You can be on a panel and also
panel you want to.
Yes,
I love that about the Shimmer events too. The chats are honestly a lot of ADHD events, but the chat is always just as fun as the session itself. So if you can zone out to the chat at any point, that's also fine. You can also watch the recording. It'll be up tonight, so you can rewatch the parts that you might have zoned out and went into the chat for.